Cell phone video of a police officer putting his gun to the head of a man that he was pulling over has, against all odds, considering that this is the United States, actually resulted in a criminal conviction of the police officer.
No.
It's amazing.
What, he must have did something else.
Maybe.
I don't know. Did he have a joint in his pocket when he did it?
Maybe. Here's the actual
name
video.
Is Santiago.
Here's the video of him.
Maybe he ordered the Court Red.
Video this. Get back over there. Video this. Okay? He put his gun on my head. You're right. He put his gun on my head. Hey, Slim, get back in the car. Get back in the car now. I'm not going to tell you again. Get back in the car. Get back in the car. Get back in the car. Go ahead. I dare you to fucking fight me, son. Get back in the car. Get back in the car. Sir, step out the vehicle.
Wow.
Okay, that's
that guy's out of control.
That guy he was trying to arrest is the bravest man in
That
America.
guy, he's got stones.
Yeah, he's got brass balls there. He's got steel in his
Or he doesn't watch the news.
No, or
know
he knows
how
he can
often
get shot
that
either
results
way.
in- yeah.
He knows he's going to get shot if I
That's
get in the
possible,
car. I
yeah.
can get shot if I stand out
Oh,
here.
yeah, we've had the video of the hands on the hood. They walk up to the guy with the hands on the hood and begin tasing him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, look, man, and he did the smart thing, at least, of not fighting back even one scintilla, right? I mean, that guy was looking for an excuse.
Waiting.
No one has
Right.
ever more wanted to shoot someone in the head than that guy. You saw him do, maybe we can show it again. He did this with his arms, like he was getting ready to do something.
Yeah, I tell
Guys,
you, a lot of these cops
unarmed.
are roiding, I'm telling you.
He just
The
desperately
guy
wanted to
doesn't
shoot
have
him
a
in the
gun on
face.
him. He's not threatening him. He puts a gun to his head. So that is how cops are trained, right? They're trained like if they don't have your command, you escalate. Again, he's escalating. It's the cop escalating. It's not the other way.
But they're not really trained that way. But they're certainly not trained to put a gun to a guy's head.
No. I agree with both of you guys. They're not trained to put the gun to the head, of course. But they are, unfortunately, implicitly trained to escalate. Because instead of, for example, I've read a lot of articles about this. In Europe, they spend 3 years training the cops, and a great majority, not a majority of that, but a great percentage of that time is spent on de-escalating conflicts. So, for example, since 2008, even though crimes with knives happen far more frequently in the UK because they have strict gun control, so people do crimes with knives, only one person with a knife has been shot by British police since 2008. Over 500 people with knives have been shot by U.S. cops since 2013.
I got you that we have the problem, but
because we train to escalate.
I don't think that's true.
No, that is true.
No, it's not true. They're literally
100%.
trained to de-escalate. It's just they aren't doing it.
They're not trained that way.
No. So again, you're both right. So they do train. Hold on, they do train for.
Nobody trained to escalate.
No, they
Yes,
train.
they are.
They trained to take no risk.
I just read it. They're trained to take
Take control of the situation.
right. Both of those things. They say avoid conflict, right? And they teach them de-escalation. But for literally 1/20th of the time that they train them on, here's how you put a guy down. Here's what happens if the guy's attacking you, if the guy's coming at you. So 95% of the time they're telling him, okay, you got to get him down. You got to get him down. You got to get in his face and you got to shout at him and you got to make sure you cuff him and you
Use your
tase him
voice.
and this is how you escalate. And for 5% of the time they go, no, you shouldn't escalate. You should, figure out a way to bring things down.
Right, but what I'm saying is that their idea of that taking charge is that takes control of a difficult situation and de-escalates it. They're not literally saying to escalate the situation.
Yes,
it's
they're not literally
it's what
saying
every
that,
cop in
right.
every situation fears is an escalation.
And you would look at the results and you would realize that this isn't producing a good outcome if you put any value on the fact that we kill hundreds and hundreds of unarmed civilians every single year by cops that don't need to die. And now we're putting pressure on them to hopefully involve that in their calculus of how you should escalate or de-escalate. But they didn't, up until this point, didn't seem to see that as much of a loss.
We're getting caught up in semantics. So what they're taught is when a guy doesn't obey your verbal command, you go to the next step. You don't go backwards. You go to the next step. So if you don't have immediate control of a situation, you don't de-escalate it, you escalate it. So they don't say escalate it, but they say go to the next step. And by the way, be wary, this guy's going to shoot you. So at every moment, be paranoid he's going to kill you, so you be ready to kill him first, which is you're already taking whatever. This situation, the guy got pulled over, he doesn't even have a fucking gun on him. The guy's got his, so they're always taught to go to that, they're never taught to back off. They're not taught to de-escalate.
So two more facts about this. In Europe, the standard for shooting someone is it must be absolutely necessary. That's the standard, okay? In America, the standard is it has to be, quote, reasonable.
If you fear for your life, that's all that. If you
right.
And they're taught to fear for their life.
Exactly. That goes to the second point. So first of all, the legal standards and the training standards are enormously important. If you teach someone de-escalate, 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 and you don't shoot someone, it is unless your life is in absolute danger and it's absolutely necessary that you do it that second, right? Or you teach them, shoot it when it's reasonable, And by the way, the second part is your life's in constant danger. You're in danger.
Yes.
You're in danger. They can get out of a car and shoot you within 1 second. Don't give them that opportunity. And then you sprinkle in the stereotypes that's at a best case scenario in the back of our minds, if not in the front of some people's minds, which is black guys are dangerous. Black guys are bigger than you. Young black kids actually are actually older. By 4 years, according to studies, they see a 12-year-old black kid and they think he's 16 years old on average, right? So a guy like this, he sees a African-American guy who's a little bigger than him, and you've got a toxic stew there, right? I'm afraid of this guy, and he's not listening to my order, and I was told not to back down, and I was told to shout louder and go to the next step. And what is a guy, even though he wasn't trained to put the gun to his head, what does he think? He thinks, I'm going to put the gun to his head, right?
Yeah.
And by the way, though, the good news is that he has been arrested, and it is wrong. And at least we're beginning the path to recovery in some ways, small ways, where we look at that tape, and thank God there's tape on it, and they go, that's bad. You shouldn't do that.
And what did the guy, how long is he convicted? What was his sentence, John?
So that was Officer Jenchesky Santiago. He was convicted by a judge on Wednesday of this week of 2 counts of assault, a handgun offense, and misconduct in office. He's been suspended without pay since his indictment back in March. The chief, Mark Magao, will decide whether to fire the officer once an internal investigation is complete. So the actual conviction isn't yet a guarantee that he will be fired. But now, look, we've been showing over and over that cell phone video. Now imagine if the video hadn't existed.
Nothing
would have happened.
Nothing.
What would have happened?
Absolutely nothing would happen.
They're still not sure they're going to fire him. You think without the video, they would have taken any action? Of course not.
And so that goes to my point that I've been making for a couple of years now, that you go, oh, well, this guy's just obviously out of control. All the cops don't do that. All the cops aren't maniacs. He's a bad apple. He still is. They're not even, he's convicted. They have the videotape. We still might have him hang around. They're all fucked up. Okay, his boss is fucked up. The chief is fucked up. They're all fucked up. Why isn't that guy fired right now? You're telling me that they're not fucked up, Ben? You see what happened?
Jimmy, you say semantics. It is semantics, but the language matters. The language matters, and your language is inflammatory, and it's wrong, and it sounds silly, even though you're right on almost every point. They don't escalate. They're not taught to escalate, so it's important that we use the right language. They're literally not taught escalate the situation. Find me one cop. You won't do it. You won't fight it because it doesn't exist. Now, of course that situation is flawed, and of course if there was no video, we all agree. The guy walks. There's no question. There's no charge. They probably just beat the guy up. Right?
So what are you disagreeing with me on?
What I'm disagreeing with you, one, the language does matter, and what we clearly have where, in the end, it is semantics, because what we have is a situation where whatever training we're doing is wrong. It's wrong. They do it better in Europe. It's wrong here. But like what John just read doesn't mean that the cop's boss probably can't wait to fire him. But he's got a police union to deal with, and there's a process they have to go through, and he's not able to fire him yet.
So you're giving a benefit of the doubt to this guy.
I'm not giving a
nothing about.
You know, I know more than you because I listen to the fucking story.
You know nothing about.
You know less. What do you know that I don't know? What do you know that I don't know?
I have a sense of history, especially recent history, the stories we've been covering, and again, I've been yelled at like this and then proven right many, many times about this stuff on the show. So I can't wait to replay this tape again.
I can't wait for it either. So when that guy's fired, will you say you're wrong?
So I don't know. What? No, I'm not going to say I'm wrong. That's a fucked up culture. We have a fucked up police culture.
I agree.
But again, from coast to coast. So I don't even know what you're arguing with me about.
I'm arguing about the sort of recklessness of the language that ends up undermining the very movement that you were trying to support.
So let me try to summarize here, because again, it's going to frustrate some people, but I agree with both of you. Okay, so Jimmy, it's not. You're right that it's not just a few bad apples. Ben agrees with that. Everybody agrees with that, right? It is a problem of training, culture, et cetera, right? So, but Ben is right that if we generalize and we say all cops are bad, that doesn't help the cause because that makes people shut off, right? And it's also not true. It's, of course, not all cops. We did a story about in Alabama, they framed thousands of innocent black men and they put the guns and drugs on them, and they destroyed their lives, and how horrific that was. And there was a bunch of white police officers down in Alabama that turned them in, right? So it's factually not true that it's all cops, So it's better to stick with language that is true, which is, hey, there's a problem with the training, there's a problem with the culture, let's fix that.
And if this guy doesn't get fired, that's an outrage. That's true.
Yeah.
But we don't know that they're trying to save his job. That's all. Like he just said that the chief has to deal with this circumstance, and if they don't fire him, you're 100% right. But we have no evidence that they're not going to fire him, or that they're not going to fire him, or that we have no evidence what happens to this guy down the road. He just got convicted this week. He was convicted. That's a good thing.
I'm just going off of recent history, the corruption we see coast to coast every time, and it's not a bad apple. It's the system, and that's what I'm saying.
I
and
agree.
I'm saying that
I agree the system is
That's
messed
what
up.
I'm saying. So I think that I think we agree 99% on this.
I agree with all three of you.